Vaduvur Bharghavan, CEO of Ondot Systems. I go by VB. We want to transform how consumers interact with their payment cards and issuers, giving them the control they need with the convenience they seek. In order to do that, we enable banks and credit unions of all sizes to modernize their payment cards, their credit and debit cards, with a digital-first solution on top of existing infrastructure. Right? So something very different is going on in the payment industry. Right? So tech giants are coming in and announcing the launch of payment cards in a big way. Right? So Apple launched Apple Card, Google's coming out, Amazon, PayPal, Venmo, Sophie, a whole bunch of these guys. And I think that is a signal change in the industry, because now tech giants who have a very significant cachet in terms of understanding consumers' digital interaction and already have built that affinity are getting into the payment card space, and Apple Card is already changing the norm. So all the incumbent banks and credit unions, 11,000 of them that serve over 1.5 billion cards, have to respond. Okay? So with Ondot, they can. So we are essentially, to summarize, enabling all the incumbent banks and credit unions to provide an Apple Card-like solution for their customer base. Payment is all about real time, right? So we uniquely create an interplay between real-time payment authorization, real-time user location, and real-time AI. Essentially, we bring together the user, payment, and data in real time and create that interaction so that we can reach out to consumers before, during, and after a transaction, so that we can engage them in moments that matter. Examples, you can get a card quickly in just a few minutes. You can push that card into your wallet and start using it instantly. You can understand your transactions and really get a clear view of where the merchant is, your location, all the merchant information, etc. You can manage your payment cards. You can control when, where, and how your cards are used. And you can take whatever card management operations, like you lost a card or you want to go on travel, you can do that instantly. And critically, the issuer can engage with the consumer in moments that matter in real time. In order to do that, you have to be in the authorization stream in real time. And there are only two companies, standalone companies, that do that at scale, Ondot and FICO. Right? So what makes us unique is the ability to bring together the user's transaction, and the data with real-time AI, and put these together so that we are able to engage consumers in moments that matter. First off, I think it's important for me to call out what my audience is. The end users of our solution are consumers, right? So, because our solution is all about empowering consumers, right, to control, manage, and engage with their payment cards in a digital-first solution. However, the solution is really powered or driven by the financial institution. And we get distribution to financial institutions through our card processor partners. So we are already integrated into 9 of the major card processors, who together have an installed base of over 11,000 banks and credit unions. So we communicate the solution or the value of our solution and the need for our solution to card processors and financial institutions, who then take the solution and deliver it to their end users, right? Cardholders. Now, the critical point here is the message itself is one that it communicates itself as of today. Because with Apple coming out with Apple Card and all the tech giants getting into this space, everybody knows that you need a digital-first solution. So what we are doing is not necessarily evangelizing a new solution. It is really fulfilling a dire, critical, clear, and present market need, which is for incumbent financial institutions to respond to tech giants. Let me tell you a little bit about the genesis of the company. Okay, so my background is actually not in payments. Of course, I've been doing this for 10 years now, so I suppose it is now. But my academic training and my earlier career was all in wireless and mobile networking. So I was a professor at University of Illinois, went to grad school at Berkeley, and was teaching mobile networking and doing research in that space. My two previous companies have been in that space as well. The reason I got into this is entirely as a consumer, and it was actually a result of a personal situation. I was a victim of credit card fraud in late 2007, got pissed off with the fraudsters and wanted to figure out a way to control my own payment cards. Now, this was pre-iPhone days, right? So I had a BlackBerry, and that was very hard to control anything through that device. So sort of filed a provisional patent, forgot about it. And then late 2009, I'd taken my previous company public. We were sort of looking at application-aware networks and started looking at some payment apps. And it turns out I was a victim of debit card fraud. In retrospect, very fortuitously, right? And this was irritating because now money actually got taken out of my checking account and I still didn't get all the money back. So this became an obsession, and I really wanted to figure out a way to empower myself to control my payment cards, right? So as an example, just open up my phone and say, my card should only work around me for all card present transactions, right? Let my card follow me. Or, set limits, figure out what types of transactions I wanted to make and so on and so forth. So I wanted to get the control and visibility. So this started out purely as a consumer need. In this case, a consumer, myself being the consumer. And then as we started creating the solution, of course, the market evolved. Originally, we had to evangelize the need for controls. And fortunately, I believe we did and sort of pioneered that with about 4,500 plus institutions at scale today. But then over the past few years, we really wanted to figure out a way to empower consumers to engage in a digital way, to get a card quickly, to use it instantly, to understand our transactions, to manage our payment card, and most importantly, to engage in moments that matter. And as we were creating the solution, amazing timing, happily for us, Apple came out with Apple Card. Now that has totally raised the bar for what is acceptable user experience. And the good news for us is we are at the right place at the right time. We are already integrated into the payment rails of all of the card processors. So we are able to give our banks and consumers an Apple Card-like experience. So that's really the journey of the company. This was in late 2013, actually. First customer, and I'm, remain totally grateful to them, Lone Star National Bank in Texas. They were experiencing a lot of fraud. Cross-border fraud actually. And so they wanted a solution, and they were looking to effectively co-opt their consumers or their cardholders into combating fraud while giving the consumers the control. Effectively the same problem that I was facing as an individual. So there was a excellent convergence of the solution and the need. And so they were our first customer. And from a processor perspective, Fiserv, Co-op Financial Services, and Vantiv, now WorldPay, were our initial customers. All of them, again, signed in mid to late 2013. And then, over a period of time, we had other processors, FIS notably, TSYS, Vantiv that became WorldPay, PSCU, First Data, Jack Henry. So, right now, we pretty much have a majority or all but one of the key card processors in the market. And with them, we started growing our financial institutions. By 2016 or so, we were about 1,000 financial institutions. And then Visa and MasterCard came up with their alerts mandate, which was a great inflection point for us. So we went from 1,000 to 3,500 very quickly. And today we have over 4,500 banks and credit unions who are our customers, including 2 of the top 10 global banks and 47 of the top 100 banks. It's really launching of the card app and, giving a here and now solution to banks and credit unions to compete against Apple Card in a really meaningful way by offering a digital first solution. And to not just have to evangelize or to wait for a while, but they can do it right now in a cost-effective and quick time to market way. So I think this is a solution, and again, it's brandable by the financial institution. So it's not our brand, it's theirs, right? So we have an automated portal to launch this solution in just weeks. I think both the concept as well as the delivery, quick delivery, a combination of those two, I would say, is the biggest achievement for us. Through the lifetime of the company, it was really to get integrated into the real-time rails, because that's the sanctum of all card processing, right? So to get between the request and the response in real time at scale. So we do real time at real scale. We see over 60 million cards worth of transactions, over 1 billion transactions a month is what we process. And therefore, to be able to get into real time, at least now it's fine, right? So we have a lot of 4,500 financial institutions that can speak for us, but to get the first, second, and third was quite a challenge. I think timing through, not necessarily through any great planning on our part, just happened to be at the right time at the right place, right? Because let's say, a few years back, you might recall that the nature of fraud and the level of fraud had risen quite dramatically. There were a lot of very visible and notorious fraud incidents. And so a lot of financial institutions, both real and perceived, were really experiencing that challenge. And they were looking for a way, non-traditional way, to combat fraud. And what better way than to co-opt the cardholder? Because after all, I'm the one that knows whether a transaction is legit or not. So by bringing together real-time payment and real-time user communication, not only did we provide that engagement with the consumer, but we also made them be safe and feel safe. So this was a very meaningful thing for financial institutions to do, right? And so while the challenge of integrating in real time into the core payment rails was significant, the payoff for both the consumer and the issuer was also very significant. And I think that was the driver. And then we brought in real-time AI to give consumers the ability, or give issuers the ability to engage with consumers before, during, and after transactions based on my proclivity of spending. So I think that was the next step up. Let me, rather than picking a specific company, I'll tell you what sort of company I aspire to be and who I really like. And these are not necessarily the biggest companies. I really love the fact that a number of my customers, credit unions, not only want to do well, but they want to do good. So if altruism is a part of your core business model, and it's something that automatically helps make people's lives better, I think what could be better than that? So just as an example, this is my passion project. I'm personally very motivated as our company grows, and I have the opportunity to start having the ability to look at my passion projects. It's really around giving consumers the ability to save up and then give them offers that help them better themselves. And it could be for environmental causes, it could be for distance learning, it could be for charitable giving, really helping folks. We are helping people manage their money and control their spend anyway, right? I think the next thing is to actually use that engagement to better people's lives. If we can succeed in doing that, I'd consider myself very lucky. And I love to look at those credit unions in particular that are not just looking to make money, but are actually looking to make a difference in people's lives. That's precious. I think the biggest looming trend, at least from a payment perspective, is the need for a digital-first solution and the need for banks and credit unions to modernize their payment cards to provide this digital-first solution. I think that's the big story of 2020. Because consumers want it, external players are providing it, so incumbents need to scratch that itch.